Well, it's been a while since I made a video, so thought I would catch a early or stage here before completing these 4 raised beds of how this process worked, and basically laid out the grid for the raised beds with strings and stakes tied out like that one over there, and then dug holes using a post hole digger. And drop these in, and these are the posts I've been using, which is took a 4x4 treated post, cut them down to 16 inches, so getting 8-foot posts and cutting them down to 16 inches, and then using a circular saw just cut out a notch to receive a 2x10 so that it could sit on there. So cutting down about 1 5/8 inches. And then cutting down to 9 3/8, even though the boards are about supposed to be 9 1/4. Go ahead and cut it a little bit longer, and then cement these in like so, and then using 2x10x12s, you can see there's 4 sections for 2x10x12s. Which works out evenly. You just got to cut them a little bit because usually they come a little bit longer than 12 feet exactly, and then get a 2x10x8 foot board for the end boards at each end. So get those cemented in, dig the holes, make sure they're plumb, and then run a level across the top of each of them, each raised bed, so that they're the same height, and you can see they're coming up. I should probably say the reason we're doing raised beds out here in this garden area is that this was all leveled out by a previous owner, and leveled out down to red clay, and then they brought sand in. As I understand it, the previous owner he roped bulls in the rodeo and used this as a riding pit for horses. So there's no topsoil to speak of out here. It's red clay with about 5 or 6 inches of, at this point, hard packed sand or grit. So really we need to go up anyways. These beds end up working out to be about $200 a piece with the lumber. So once we get them framed up, actually come back and dig holes at the 6-foot point. It's just a little easier to do it that way. It's less time consuming trying to make sure they're level. And then I dig another set of holes just using a small shovel, and dig holes and add posts at the 6-foot point, screw them into the boards, and then just dump concrete in and cement those. And then we come back and stain these. We've been using Olympic Elite Advanced stain. This is a chestnut brown color from Lowe's, and thankfully with an army of kids we can knock these out pretty quickly. So this is what one of the beds. We've got one to go for vegetables. This is a vegetable bed going in. It's going to have structures similar to what we've got here for the blackberries, except it'll be taller with fence running down the middle of it, and we'll use this for tomatoes and other tall or climbing plants. And then the other bed, which will be the last one we'll do this summer, we'll keep adding them progressively. That bed will be the last one, but this will have a much taller trellis system, kind of like this. And these are just using the fairly inexpensive treated 2x4s at Lowe's. I think they're about $2 and change for the number 2 grade 2x4s, and they just screw into the posts going into the ground and come up. So fairly easy to do. And with these blackberries, what I'm going to do is run wires across the middle boards here, and then at the upper boards. And as these blackberries, thornless blackberries, grow up, we can tie off the brambles so that they're not going out into the area. The gap, these beds are 4 feet wide. The gap in between here is about 4.5 feet, but it is wide enough for the 4-wheeler and trailer to go through, so that as we need to add compost or dirt, between every 2 sets of beds, we can drive the 4-wheeler down to load or unload things. and we'll end up putting gravel probably down in there to finish it. And then this bed is the blueberries, which you can see are doing quite nicely. They are loaded with blueberries. Every plant has a bunch of them on there. This bed is filled with aged pine fines. There's not topsoil in there. Finch's blueberries from Bailey, North Carolina. We put them in. That's what they said to plant them in, and they seem to be thriving in that. And then we just run soaker hoses. These are the Miracle Grow 3/8 inch or whatever, 50 foot soaker hoses, pretty inexpensive on Amazon. And then we have an Orbit timer with the two outlets, and so it runs every day. Each side runs about 10 minutes. Pretty easy to set up. Thing works great. The garden, statue of Saint Fiacre. The garden had water already plumbed to it from the well, so it stubbed up to that hose bib. I came back in and cut and added these two shutoff valves that will be inside the greenhouse. This is the electrical, and you can see the frame of that'll be one of the next projects, the greenhouse. But so this shutoff valve here goes that way to all of those raised beds and controls those faucets, and then this shutoff will control the ones that will eventually go that way. So we can shut those down as needed. But trenched in, before putting in the raised beds, trenched in and ran water lines to each bed, so that each bed will have a timer coming off of it, water, and then can water them. So it's not something we have to really remember to do, try and automate, because it seems like watering plants is an easy thing to forget to do. So that's where we're at with the raised beds, and they've worked out pretty well. They go together fairly quickly, and a minimal amount of waste, because everything is based off of 4 foot sizing. So really the scraps are pretty minimal. If you look at kind of what's down here, this is really about all that there is in terms of waste cutting out of those. Even the posts, there's nothing, there's no waste except for the part where you cut out. So that's it. Haven't made a video in a little while, so I thought I would kind of capture this quickly before I finish this project up, hopefully in the next day or two.